The conversation about the nexus between the climate change and health is taking center stage across the globe. And as such, environment experts are of the opinion that this conversation must be had. That will be forming the basis of our discussion tonight later on. But first, let's take a look at the stories making headlines tonight.
Tonight, Ruto denies allegations that he stripped the United States of America on the extravagant business jet cost 200 million Kenyan shillings.
There is no way. In fact, let me disclose here that it costed the Republic of Kenya less than 10 million.
President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua avoid discussing politics during the 21st National Prayer Breakfast at the Safari Park.
As the father figure of the nation, that we work together. We build bridges. We build synergy.
Also tonight,
serikali nataka munisaidie ile mwili toke hapa. Ikitoka hapa hii mboma itatulia.
In Kimangaru Village, Manyata constituency, Embu County, a family seeks assistance to exhume a body they buried on their farm a few months ago, suspecting it may not be their relatives.
Tusaidiwe kuondoa hii mwili hapa, njua tunjui ni mukami tulisika ama si mukami.
All right, welcome to this live broadcast. Catherine Simalo is a sign language interpreter tonight. My name is Anne Odida. Let's get started with our broadcast. It costs less than 10 million Kenyan shillings is the president's response to critics about the true cost of the luxurious private jet he used during the state visit to the United States. President William Ruto asserted his hard stance on prudent use of taxpayers' money, as Sheila Chelangat reports.
the cost of hiring this private jet, Boeing 737-700, owned by the Royal Jet Company in Dubai, has provoked backlash regarding the extravagant nature of the president's state visit to the United States of America, with reports alleging that it might have cost the taxpayer 200 million shillings. However, weighing in on the criticism on the cost of the VIP plane, the president says it cost the Kenyan taxpayer less than 10 million shillings.
I am not a madman. When I was told the cheapest plane was 70 million, I told my office, go book Kenya Airways.
The luxurious plane, he says, was offered by people he referred to as some friends at a discounted price, and so was way cheaper than using the national carrier Kenya Airways.
Some friends told me, how much do you want to pay? I said, I'm not ready to pay more than 20 million. They said, bring 10 million, we will give you the plane.
These revelations from the president coming at the backdrop of proposed new taxes that have angered Kenyans, not forgetting a promise by the government to cut down on extravagant spending.
Look at me, Kenyans. Look at me again. I must lead from the front. So relax, you know, and the debate must end.
But the debate is far from ending. Kenyans and leaders online continue to question whether accepting the offer of the said friends was right.
There is something called state capture. State capture starts when a small group of moneyed people capture the president with the favors and gifts. It happened in South Africa.
If it was a gift, then it belongs to this country, and he has a constitutional requirement to disclose it. Sasa hii uongo itamweka kwa chimo.
But even as critics continue demanding for a full disclosure of the friends that offered the plane, for now it's case closed, as the government has revealed it was the UAE government that made the offer. Sheila Chelangat for TV47.
Interesting. Now, President William Ruto, together with his deputy Rigathi Gachagua, led the country Thursday morning in marking the 21st National Prayer Breakfast at the Safari Park Hotel here in Nairobi. Regardless of party affiliations, the head of state underlined that unity among leaders is crucial for Kenya's success. And as Mike Kagwango reports, former Ethiopia Prime Minister Tamrat Lane urged Kenyans to never give up this year's theme, Hope, recounting his experiences in captivity and suicide attempts.
Along with their spouses, First Lady Rachel Ruto and Pastor Dorcas Rigathi, President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua majestically walked into Safari Park Hotel in Nairobi, aiming to share a message of hope with Kenyans. The 21st National Prayer Breakfast was a crucial moment for Kenyans, held under the theme of hope. The event came at a time when the nation is grappling with the high cost of living, floods and unemployment. South Mugirango Member of Parliament Silvana Sosoro led the Bunge choir in upbeat songs as the celebration kicked off on a high note, with everyone in attendance grinning, as a wide range of songs were performed in various dialects. Kajiado North Member of Parliament Onesimus Ngogoyo delivered a message of hope to Kenyans, emphasizing that God will never grow tired or weary, no matter how long their prayers took.
The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom.
Basing his speech on this year's theme, President William Ruto stated that hope does not wait for vision to appear, but rather it is vision in action in the present day.
We may have at times wobbled or even tripled, but we did not fall. We have always emerged stronger and more united.
Ruto said the country has covered significant ground in tackling challenges that continue to face the country, even though it still has a long way to go.
And it is true that we understand, all of us, what the challenges are and what we need to do. I ask all of us to have the courage to do the right thing, however difficult it is.
And through prayer, God gave us rains, indeed, beyond our fair share.
The chief guest and former Ethiopian Prime Minister Tamrat Lane urged the local political elite to serve as rays of hope for the Kenyan people. The most difficult time in his life, he recalled, was when he and his family lived in Nairobi refugee camp for 3 years, 24 years ago.
My wife and our 2 children were forced to flee from their country and ended up in one of the Nairobi refugee camps and stayed for 3 years while I was under politically motivated imprisonment by the Zen government for 12 years.
The prayer breakfast and denominational meeting is organized by members of parliament and includes various leaders from across the country and beyond.
When the role of leaders gets right, it is not difficult to shape people's mind, was the message that dominated in 2024 National Prayer Day. Now, Kenyans hoping that things will get better in the near future. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Mike, for that report. Still on that, President William Ruto, during the National Prayer Breakfast, emphasized the significance of national unity and reaffirmed his dedication to ensuring Kenya's economic stability. He urged leaders to demonstrate commitment in their respective roles. Meanwhile, despite ongoing disputes within the ruling party and opposition leaders' absence, both the president and his deputy chose to overlook the issues. Our senior political reporter Elizabeth Mutuku brings us the details.
was a national prayer breakfast which brought together leaders from all walks of life with the common goal of praying and rekindling hope amid challenges. The number one in command insisting on his quest to unite Kenyans and insisting on his goal to stabilize the economy amid the proposed tough tax measures, further urging leaders to be responsible.
To have the courage to do the right thing, however difficult it is. It is the only way we can pull our country and take our country into the future.
Despite the recent surge in political tensions within the ruling party, which has led a heated exchange of words both online and offline among UDA leaders following a warning by UDA Secretary General Cleophas Malala for some leaders to refrain from politics, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua opted for a different approach, political pundits suggesting this might be a strategy to ease the tension.
Excellency, our spouses, led by mine Pastor Dorcas, were demanding that we emulate the president and hold their hand wherever we go. Mine, and you know she's a pastor, even went beyond that. I walk her to the car. She was even saying around the house I hold her hand.
Yesterday, a back and forth exchange was witnessed on social media, with each leader who received a warning expressing harsh criticism towards the ruling party's Secretary General. However, National Assembly's Majority Whip Silvana Sosoro described this as normal, emphasizing that everyone has a right to fight for their space and that freedom of expression is crucial as long as it respects the party's vision.
Of any party. They are not members of UDA, they are not members of ODM, they are not members. They are simply a political. And they do not answer to Cleophas Malala. So Cleophas Malala, from where I sit, was making an opinion as a Secretary General of a party, but he cannot reprimand members of the cabinet.
Recently, the Deputy President has faced significant backlash in his efforts to unite Mount Kenya, particularly regarding the one man, one vote, one shilling call, with the call now appearing to be creating a rift within the Kenya Kwanza ruling coalition.
Kurushiana maneno pale nje, wananchi watakuwa tena hawana imani na sisi. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri watu wakikosana, kukosana inakuwa tu kila siku, watu wanaweza kosana, lakini wasameane na warudi pale ndani ya nyumba, wasilete maneno kwa wananchi, kwa sababu wakileta maneno kwa wananchi, wananchi nao wanaanza kupigana, wanaanza kupoteza matumaini.
Night of colorful and lively prayer breakfast, tension was evident among the top leadership of the UDA party, even as squabbles continue to rock the ruling party. Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47, Safari Park, Nairobi.
Thank you, Mutuku, for that. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka has today endorsed the one man, one vote, one shilling stance after receiving decisions from Limuru 3, led by Jeremiah Kioni, and the Council of Elders of the Agikuyu community. Defending the Mount Kenya community, Kalonzo criticized President Ruto for what he called as oppressing the region with higher taxes, stating that the area deserves equitable resources allocation based on its population. Our senior political affairs reporter Paul Kamau now reports.
Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka has stepped up his charm offensive in the restive Mount Kenya region after he endorsed the one man, one vote, one shilling push. Kalonzo, who led a joint meeting of the Wiper Party National Executive Council, Limuru 3 Organizing Committee, and the Kikuyu Council of Elders, slammed Kenya Kwanza for victimizing the region in the wake of the Limuru 3 convention.
We are all united, and part of the Limuru 3 resolutions do point out to this inclusivity, equitable share of resources, so that a person's vote counts. So those who have been scared by the mantra, one man, one shilling, one vote, shouldn't at all.
This was not one community against the 41, as some people would want to put it. It was an issue of Kenyans feeling the pain because of the poor management that we can see from UDA, And that is what put the leadership of political parties within the region of Mount Kenya together. And now we are in the process of reaching out to other community, other political parties.
We are the people.
Also joining the bandwagon for the one man, one vote, one shilling was DAP Party Kenya leader Eugene Wamalwa, who came to the defense of the populous region, heightening the clamor for votes as Azimio and Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua digging for support ahead of the 2027 poll.
They have already started reacting. They have started reacting by targeting the Mount Kenya community that went to Limuru, targeting certain individuals who have spoken about the one man, one vote, one shilling policy. But looking at this document on behalf of DAP Kenya, I want to say what is in this document was really part of what was in the BBI, bringing about equality.
Kalonzo, who pushed for the inclusion of the Akamba community as part of Gema 2 months ago in Kiambu County, is endearing himself to the mountain in his quest to succeed as Azimio leader Raila Odinga ahead of the 2027 poll.
It looks like the taxman, Zakayo, is actually targeting Andwa Kirima. It's obvious. Because they have more cars and they have whatever. But anyway, it's every Kenyan.
We are the people!
The Wiper DAP Kenya endorsement of the Limuru 3 meeting is part of the convener's agenda to ward off the perception that Limuru 3 was a tribal grouping in what they say will kick off the revolution agenda in championing issues affecting all Kenyans, not just in the mountain. Apul Kamau, TV47.
Now, President William Ruto on Thursday addressed the initiative by his deputy Rigathi Gachagua advocating for the adoption of the one man, one shilling formula to ensure equity and fairness in the allocation of funds to the counties. Ruto, who spoke indirectly, urged leaders to promote the equal distribution of resources among all counties to ensure fairness in resource allocation.
And I said yesterday that there is no prosperous Kenya without a thriving Africa. And I want to repeat here today that there will be no prosperous county without a thriving Kenya. All of us, our destiny is intertwined. We must carry every village. We must carry every constituency. We must carry every county to make Kenya truly great. And that is why I speak to you leaders as the father figure of the nation, that we work together. We build bridges. We build synergy. We have a common destiny. There will be no success of one county as against another. We must pull together and succeed together as a nation.
Now, the United Democratic Party has confirmed the internal conflicts within the ruling party is at a critical juncture as the party prepares for constituency elections tomorrow morning. The disputes have caused division and are likely to impact the party's elections as certain politicians vie for powerful positions. While UDA Secretary General Cleophas Malala states the elections have been postponed in West Pokot, UDA Chairperson Anthony Mwaura says that he has not received any court order postponing the elections.
President William Ruto's ruling party is currently in a political storm, the outcome of which will decide whether or not certain rebel leaders will lose their party membership and be ousted from their government positions. The ongoing disputes within the party are viewed by some as a strategy to gain more influence as the party prepares to elect its leaders for various positions. The United Democratic Party now saying that some influential people are attempting to interfere with the party's mission, goals and ongoing elections, with UDA Secretary General Cleophas Malala recently stating that the elections have been postponed until the Elections Board provides a specific date. However, UDA's party chairperson Anthony Moura insists that elections will proceed in some areas like West Pokot unless he receives a court order.
From where I sit, and I'm one of the most original members of UDA. This is my party and my home. We started UDA. We cannot condone violence at any given level.
Meanwhile, Ruto's ally, including Oscar Sudi, attacked Malala as the party prepares to hold its constituency-level elections. The competition has intensified as key leaders vie to secure their positions. Currently, a heated dispute has arisen between Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja and Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, with Sakaja accusing the DP of attacking President Ruto.
Let me tell you, if you want respect, respect other leaders. Respect other leaders. And if you don't respect those leaders, respect the people who put them there.
It's not only Sakaja vying for the chairmanship of UDA in Nairobi, with Embakasi legislator James Gakuya also preparing to square it out with the governor. The internal disputes within the ruling party's UDA are likely to significantly impact the upcoming elections, the outcome of which will be significant. Friday, the party is scheduled to commence grassroots elections at the constituency level, followed shortly by county elections.
There are some few prominent figures who are involved in those violence, and we have given their names, and sooner or later you are going to know whom the figures are.
Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
All right, away from politics, traders in Gikomba have now moved to court to bar the ongoing demolitions of their homes and businesses. The 222 traders who are being represented by lawyer Dunstan Omari claim that they were not issued with notices, adding that the demolitions were illegally undertaken at night. Kisewa Emory with the details.
Gikomba traders descended on the Milimani Law Courts Thursday to launch a case against the government seeking to bar the demolitions ongoing in the market.
Tumekuja hapa kotini tukiwa na malilio yetu kwa sababu tukiwa tumegandamizwa na county government kwa kubomoa vibanda zetu, kutuacha tukiwa hatuna cha kufanya.
The demolitions have devastated homes and businesses as well as places of worship.
Tumebomolewa bila notice. Unastukia tingatinga ndio hiyo imeingia, inavunja mavibanda, mali zetu zinakanyagwa, tuko na mkopo. Mpaka saa hizi nyumba nimefungiwa, watoto wangu hawaendi shule. Nashindwa mimi ni mwana Kenya. Nitaenda wapi? Usaidizi nitatoa wapi?
The traders, through their lawyer Dunstan Omari, say their rights have been violated given that they have been in the land since 1992.
We are challenging the question of their removal without their public participation. They were never consulted. We are challenging the non-issuance of notices because the law talks of them being given notices that have not been complied with.
Omari also added that the market is serving more than 5 million people both locally and internationally, and thus they want the government to stop the ongoing demolitions. The traders now want President William Ruto to intervene, arguing that he promised to protect the interests of the hustlers.
Sisi tunaomba serikali pia walisema kuwa watalinda, watachunga watu wa biashara ya chini, na sasa hivi tunaona wanatugandamiza.
We raisi, ukiwa pale huko, sisi tulikuingiza kwa roho moja. Kwa hivyo, fanya tu shauri na moyo wako. Simama na wamama. Simama na wamama. Wacha kuwavunjia vitu zao, wacha kuwasukuma. Sisi tulikuchagua na roho moja.
The court will deliver its ruling on June 10th. Kisewa Emory, TV47.
Now, a family in Kimangaru village in Manyata constituency, Embu County, is calling for help to exhume a body which they claim may not be of their kin, which they buried at their farm a few months ago. The family says that since burying the body, a series of shocking events have been witnessed in their home, leading to suspicion that they might have buried a wrong body, which has now in turn caused them havoc.
In Kimangaru village, Manyata constituency in Embu, this is Josephat Muridhi's home, faces here depicting fear and deep sorrow. A few months ago, Muridhi's family buried the body of an 18-year-old girl whom they say was their grandchild, who passed away in February after ailing while under the custody of a guardian. After being informed about her death, Muridhi's family say that the body of the late was transferred back home for burial. However, one thing drew their attention, the condition of the dead girl's body.
Na alikuwa na net kama ile harusi. Alikuwa ati wanasemanga kanisa yao wanasikana wakiwa nafaa nguo kama sa harusi. Juu hiyo harusi ati ni harusi yake. Haya sasa tukaenda kureview mwili. Kwenda kureview mwili, mwili ulikuwa kama huyu umechomwa. Ulikuwa umeosa na hukuwa na macho. Watu wote walikuwa naangalia, watu walikuwa naanguka hapo mochari.
After burying the body of a girl whom they had to believe was their grandchild, Muridhi's family could not keep up with what they term as a series of bizarre events.
Tulimsika Thursday, 7th, 8th, wa hiyo March, girandi kangu, kakaniambia kukumbiri simekuva shosho, na sinaonekana simendungwa miguu. Tukaangalia nikamwambia twende tutupe. The following day Saturday, silikuva 4, silikuwa simenyongwa chingo. Hiyo ni 4 siku ya Saturday. Sunday silinyongwa 6. Last Sunday, nikiwa kwa kanisa, nikaletewa ripoti nikiwa kwa kanisa mbaye saa 7 hivi, sikuwa nimetoka kanisa. Nikaambiwa ng'ombe na mbuzi simekatakatwa.
This family has sought help from different quarters, including spiritual intervention, but they say nothing has changed yet. Efforts to reach out to the guardian of the late girl for an explanation about her death have also proven futile. Apart from calling for the exhumation of the body, this family also wants the alleged death of their granddaughter to be investigated.
Hivyo tulisika mwili hivi, guardian na watu wa kanisa hata wakukura huku, walimaliza na wakapanda gari na wakaenda. Hata mbae hawakusema. Tusaidiwe kuondoa hii mwili hapa, njua tunjui ni mukami tulisika ama si mukami.
As Muridhi's family grapples to unravel the puzzling occurrence, their only plea at the moment is for relevant government agencies to help them exhume the body and look into the death of their 18-year-old granddaughter.
Serikali mimi naomba tafadhali. Mimi sina nguvu ya pesa, nimeishiwa hiyo miezi 3 na kushika hiyo mbalio. Mimi sina pesa. Serikali nataka munisaidie ile mwili toke hapa. Ikitoka hapa hii mboma itatulia. Njumi tayari nimeona niyo shinda.
Arnold Adidi, TV47.
All right, fear is gripping residents of Maina Estate, which is on the outskirts of Nyahururu town, as a massive water basin keeps building up on the upper side of the Nyahururu-Rumuruti highway near Ndururumo High School, as a result of the water drainage system becoming clogged during road repairs by the Kenya National Highway Authority. Ruga Evil has the details.
The principal of Ndururumo High School is living in fear since his school is located in close proximity to the leaking pipeline, as he now urges respective authorities to step in and resolve the impending threat, apprehensive that the school might soon be submerged.
Imekuwa ni hatari sana kwa sababu inapenyeza na kuingia kwa shule, inaingiza maji machafu kwa shule. Hata wakaguzi wa afya wamekuja na wakasema hiyo maji ni hatari na kuna kiwango itafika waweze kufunga shule.
Hii maji itapiga shule. Kuko na dormitory, kuko na staff quarter hapa na itabomoa hiyo, italeta madhara kama ya Maimahiu.
On the other hand, residents of Maina area are grappling with the crisis aftermath, as dilapidated water pipes have been leaking for a long time, which has led to flooding in Nyahururu town and its outskirts.
Kuna mahali wamefunga na culvert, kusoma maji yendi viru pande ya chini. Kwa hivyo wakati gabion zilijengwa, maji kawa sasa already imefungwa kabisa, pande ya chini haiwezi tokea.
They are now expressing their woes and dismays over the inadequacies in the town sewage system, fearing that the potential water stagnation might lead to soil erosion.
Maji imeanza kujitafutia njia. Kwa hivyo usiku inaanza tokea yote na tusikia kuna majiraha imefanyika.
Sasa venye hii maji ilifungiwa na haiteremki upande wa Ndururumo, ndio maana imejisanya hapa na tunaona ni hatari.
The area MCA Irene Washuka, however, have blamed Kenha, alleging that a barrier installed by a contractor along the road was the root cause of the initial problem.
Pigia watu wa Kenya wakuja hapa mara moja kama mainjinia juu hii barabara wesi ukagusa.
Meanwhile, the county governor Joshi Rongo has pledged to formulate strategies to address the issue at hand.
Bomoe hapa ndio hii drainage
ipatiwe ile njia inafaa yake, na kwa hivyo hapa ni vile tunasema kwamba ibomolewe hapa, tuweke culvert kubwa ndio hii drainage iweze kupitia.
Watu wa Kenya wa act haraka.
Watu ya Kenya na wale wengine wanahusika wakuja watufungulie maji, at least ndio tuone tumezuia maafa, kwa sababu tunataka kuona maafa kama yenye tumeona Mai.
Ruga Ivan, TV47.
Unresolved commercial disputes in the International Chamber of Commerce Court is now over $255 billion, a fact that is holding back Kenyan businesses from globalization as African states still grapple with intra-county arbitration courts. Supreme Court Judge Justice William Ouko now says alternative dispute resolution is the only solution for this limbo that is stunting progress of businesses over many times petty cases.
Limbo as a backlog of unresolved cases continues to frustrate around 1,800 affected businesses.
In order to play their rightful role in ADR processes, many African judiciaries are investing in training judges, magistrates, and other ADR practitioners to improve the quality of ADR services and promote ADR as a viable alternative to traditional litigation.
Speaking during the opening ceremony of the 8th ICC Africa Conference, Diamana Diawara, the Director ICC Arbitration and ADR Africa, said very different types of parties chose the ICC rules to resolve very different types of disputes, and arbitration remains to be the best.
The best out-of-court decision, agreement, is better than the best court decision. And so I became a champion of arbitration. Instead of being before a judge, why don't I be before an arbitrator?
These sentiments were echoed by Supreme Court Judge Justice William Ouko, who urged African countries to collaborate in the dispensation of justice to avoid frustrating small businesses, especially MSMEs who may not be able to survive incurring hefty legal costs.
Very different types of parties choose the ICC rules to resolve their very different types of disputes, and that is the strength of ICC. It is a truly global institution which is equipped to handle disputes arising out of transactions from SMEs as much as transactions from multinationals or states and state-owned entities.
Hibak Said for TV47.
Thank you, Hibak, for that report. That takes us to a very fast short break right here at this point. When we come back, we are coming back with a discussion that we had hinted earlier on climate change and health. Stay with us.
Kila kiongozi ana hadithi yake ya kipekee.
Wazazi wangu walikuwa bit strict kwa sababu mamangu mwenyewe, mimi kutoka kuzaliwa sijailala nje.
The white small one, huyo ana sniff gunpowder na risasi na bomb. Alafu huyo mwingine ni ridgeback ana sniff simba.
Even the employees knows that, so when in the boardroom is the chairman, the CEO, and the rest of.
What point are you a wife?
The minute you get to that inside that door, you become now the wife.
Na kila maamuzi wanayoyafanya hufichua mengi kuhusu utu wao na uongozi wao.
We see God blessing us, and we now realize the power of giving also has to be rewarded back.
Kupitia kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi, tunakuletea mahojiano ya kusisimua na uchambuzi wa kina kuhusu viongozi wetu.
Pick your core business as the bigger stones. Put them in your diary first. Give priority the bigger things.
Usikose kila Alhamis saa 1:30 jioni.
In a world where challenges are as common as opportunities, there are those who dare to defy the odds. They are the entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship isn't just about starting a business. It's about embracing uncertainty, pushing boundaries, and turning dreams into reality.
Hata ambao ni pesa ya kusave, wallahi.
ambao mwaka ni pesa nyingi sana.
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
The way we run the business is in a very unforgiving way, where every team member has to bring out their best.
So, to all the dreamers, innovators, and risk takers out there, remember, being an entrepreneur isn't just a job, it's a way of life. Join the journey. Become an entrepreneur. The Grind, Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Here on Beyond the Limit, we celebrate the extraordinary achievements of individuals who redefine possibilities. In a journey of resilience and determination, these individuals demonstrate that limitations are merely stepping stones to greatness.
I'm Nancy Njoroge, a mother of 3. I have 2 girls and a boy who is Clinton and who is autistic.
When my heart got healed, I decided to come out to be creating CP awareness, to let other people know that there is such a condition, and people that has it is not that they are witches.
Together, let's go beyond the limit every Saturday at 8 p.m.
All right, welcome back to the broadcast. Now, before we take you to our discussion of the night, let's take a look at what's happening across our borders. Retired President Uhuru Kenyatta joined South African voters in line to observe the polling process as part of the African Union Election Observer Mission in South Africa. Uhuru has been in South Africa meeting the various stakeholders involved in the electoral process, such as the clergy, the police service, and civil rights groups in the run-up to the voting day that occurred on Wednesday. While only 11% of the results were released by Thursday morning, the full results are expected to be announced over the weekend. The African National Congress is currently leading with 43%, followed by the Democratic Alliance with 26%. The Julius Malema-led Economic Freedom Fighters and former President Jacob Zuma's Umkhonto Wesizwe Party, that is MK, trail at 8% each. The mission will release its preliminary findings and recommendations on the conduct of the election on May 31st, 2024 in a press conference in Johannesburg, South Africa. A final and comprehensive report will be released within 2 months from the date of announcement of final election results.
African Union, we have 65 observers who are across the 9 provinces of South Africa. So we have people in every part of this country. So we are just here, but we do have teams across the country. So we should be able to get a relatively good view of the country and what has happened throughout the country. An even view. Okay. Yeah.
All right, that's all in the world of news. We'll have to say goodbye to Catherine Simaloi as a sign language interpreter tonight. Let's now get right into our discussion of the night. Tonight on The Insight, I'm stepping in for Victor Muyakane, and our conversation tonight is about the nexus between climate change and health. Our guest tonight is Dr. Kenneth Kigundu. Dr. Kenneth is an environment and climate change expert in Environment for Development Kenya, who will be telling us all about that. Karibu sana. Kenneth.
Thank you so much, Anne.
Kindly do us the honors to tell us, what do you do at the expert in at the EFD Kenya? Tell us about that. I almost butchered that.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me in this interview. So EFD in full is Environment for Development Kenya. And this is a research center based at the University of Nairobi. And it does policy-related research on environment and climate change related issues. More specifically, we do research on energy, agriculture, forestry, climate change, and also bring in the issues of health.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, I understand that currently you are doing research about the impact of climate change and health, which you mentioned is still ongoing. But just now in general, what is actually the impact, the correlation between climate change and health in general?
A good question. So you realize that in the last 1 or 2 years, climate change and health nexus has attracted attention internationally, regionally, and even locally. There's this feeling that climate change is directly impacts on health. And at the center we are currently carrying out a research trying to link or trying to find out how climate change issues and health issues are linked in the context of Kenya. So it's an ongoing research, and shortly the output will be there, and we are likely we would share with you. Mm-hmm. But what we are observing at this stage is that probably the climate change and health nexus is not so much incorporated in our policies. Yeah.
All right, so why do you think it is important for us to have this conversation? There's to really just get the country knowing about these two relatives, health and climate change.
Yeah, so for quite a number of years, we have been talking about climate change. And climate change is mainly manifested in such issues such as flooding, drought, abnormal rains. And what we have not been previously doing is to link climate change to health. Mm-hmm. But if you look at, for example, the last 3 or 4 years, we have been experiencing frequent disasters that are related to climate change. Mm. And these disasters are having implications on health. For example, just look at what the country has been going through in the last 1 month or so, mm-hmm. where the flooding. So flooding is likely to be linked to waterborne diseases. Mm-hmm. And as you know, we are likely, or we experience cases of cholera. So cholera at that point was a result of climate change. If you look at about a year ago, we had drought in Kenya. So what happens when there's drought? Mm-hmm. Number one is that there's food insecurity. People are not able to get the diet that they're supposed to get. And therefore we have issues of malnutrition. So that's a case of a health issue being directly related to climate change. Mm-hmm. So the frequency in which we are having climate change in the country and even across the globe is causing implications on health. And therefore there's need now to look at the climate change and health nexus in order to bring up solutions to this issue in a multifaceted way. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So maybe you can tell us, how effective are current policies in Kenya in addressing these now climate-induced disasters?
So what we are observing, or what is currently happening, is that we have climate change actors and we have the health actors. So what we are observing is that these two actors or these two institutions have been working separately, mm-hmm. not in collaboration, and therefore we do not have policies that directly link climate change and health. And this is not just specific to Kenya, but it's also happening across the globe. Mm-hmm. So it's because of the issues of the frequent climate change related disasters that are now bringing this discussion on the table. Mm-hmm. So it is important that you have this discussion so that we can try to minimize the impacts of climate change on health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tell us about who are the most affected in terms of now, when climate change, floods, for instance, droughts, who are the most affected health-wise?
So the most affected are the vulnerable. Now, look at this. A year ago or 2 years ago maybe, we had drought in the country. So one of the communities that was affected by the drought was a pastoral community. There was no pasture for their animals. Some animals died, and these animals are their direct livelihoods. Yet these communities have less ability to adapt to climate change. Again, look at what has been happening this year, the flooding issues. So most of the communities that are living in prone areas have been directly impacted by the flooding. So it is the most vulnerable, the communities or the groups that have less ability to adapt to climate change and even to take precaution even when we have warnings, are the parts of the population that are getting highly impacted by climate change.
Do you think there are maybe parties, stakeholders that should come in now to address this issue between now health, climate change? What should we do better to help those that are the vulnerable now in this case?
So the first thing is that we need now to realize that climate change is a big issue on health. So we need to bring all actors of the two areas, both the climate change and the health actors, on the table. Let these people, or these two actors, come up with the policies that will help reduce the vulnerability of communities to climate change. So ideally what I'm saying here is that we need to bring all actors, whether they are those in the climate change, those in health. We also need the actors in the finance, because at some point we need financing of some of the climate change and adaptation and mitigation measures. So we need everyone on board. Yeah.
Well, you've mentioned something about now finances. When you're talking about money, right now we're in a season where it's budgeting season, it's finance bill season. What amount of money are you talking about when you say that the government should now provide some funds to help these areas?
Yeah, so I know budgetary issues sometimes tend to be emotive issues because there are so many competing needs. I will not just, I mean, this is not just specific to Kenya, but even across the region. So there's a tendency for our government not to really focus on climate change. But now with the frequency in which disasters are happening and the implications on climate, on health, there's need to expand the financing, particularly that goes to climate change, adaptation and mitigation. I know it's a lot of money that is needed, but we need to do it progressively, step by step, until we get there. Yeah.
How are we doing right now as a country in terms of giving climate change a priority?
Well, I would say we are not doing so badly. At least we can see some efforts towards mitigating climate change. For example, look at what is currently happening in the Ministry of Environment. So there is this agenda to plant about 15 billion by 2032. That already is a way to mitigate climate change. So we are seeing concerted efforts. This should continue until at a point where we are able now to address all the climate change related issues. So it might be difficult to quantify the amount of money that we need to give to this area, but you realize that most of the climate change related issues are likely to be affected in almost all budgetary lines. Yeah.
We're talking about now 15 billion trees by 2032. Kenneth, do you think this is achievable? Are we on the road to that level?
I believe it's achievable. Simply because this agenda has a political goodwill. Yeah. Being championed by the president himself, if they didn't need to achieve this, it's achievable. Because it's all about bringing everyone on board, providing finances, providing the seedlings, and letting the population know the importance of this. Yeah, it should not be left to one section. It should not be left to the politicians. Bring everyone on board.
Right, that's very right. Now, let's talk about floods are here, the drought is here. How can we now adapt our lifestyles now in terms of health, so that we don't get affected with the climate change?
So what we need to first of all do is to accept that this is happening, accept the reality. After having accepted the reality, then we need to take precautionary measures. And at this point, what we can only do is to adapt, because climate change is already there, flooding is already there. So we need to take precautionary measures and maybe avoid, to minimize serious cases of flooding or any other disaster. We need to take care of the communities that have been affected by this flooding or any other disaster, because you realize that climate change is also a big or has a big link on mental health.
Right.
Look at those communities. Look at the affected families. Look at the families that have lost their loved ones. Look at families that have lost their animals, their property, and so on. So these are people who are going through difficult moments. So we need to take care of them. We need to take care of them so that we can ensure that they continue with their livelihoods, even as we address their mental health issues. Yeah.
So what are the long-term health risks when we fail to address this climate change?
The long-term health risk might be devastating. We are likely to, if we don't take measures right now, and not just as Kenya, but across the globe, we are likely to experience more frequent floodings, more frequent drought, more frequent high temperatures, and all these have an implication on health. So if we don't take measures now, the future years, let's say 5-10 years ago, to come, will be very disastrous for the community.
All right, now how has the frequency and intensity of floods changed or increased over the years? How are we doing as a country? What is the projection for the future, rather?
The projection for the future is that if we do not take action, the frequency is actually going to be higher. Now, look, for example, the last 3 years or so, we've experienced flooding this year. We experienced flooding late last year. We experienced drought early last year. So you can see the frequency is increasing. And it might continue as such in the next few years. So what we need to do right now is to know how to adapt to climate change. And that now should be led by the government. So we need early warnings so that we can take measures to avoid any vulnerabilities or any impact as we work on long-term solutions. Yeah.
Kenneth, when we were starting, you mentioned something about now the vulnerable being at high risk of being not in good health, rather, due to climate change.
Yeah.
So how does this vary? How do they vary between now urban areas and rural areas?
Well, we are likely to see some differences. The impacts are likely to be more in the urban areas because they are populated. So if there's any disaster, it's likely to affect more people in the urban areas because they have many people as compared to the rural areas where we have less people. But when we come to vulnerabilities, so the rural poor are likely to be more vulnerable because they have less incomes to adapt to climate change. But the bottom line is, whether it's rural areas or urban areas, both regions are likely to be affected by climate change, and the earlier we take actions, the better. Yeah.
Let's now talk about the spread of vector-borne diseases. I understand a disease like malaria thrives in tropical areas. So what is the link between this climate change and vector-borne diseases?
So now, I come from a very cold place called Kinangop. Growing up, that place was a very cold place, and the place experienced frequent rainfall. But for the last maybe 5 or so years or 10 years, we have had some change in the weather patterns. So we are now experiencing some not normal hot periods. Hot weather is a breeding ground or is a good environment for mosquito. And with mosquito, we have malaria. So malaria will be brought by climate change. Yeah.
All right. Now, when you talked about there isn't any policy in regards to climate change, addressing climate change, but do you think that this is a very critical conversation and these policies should be implemented rather?
Well, maybe I would correct you there. I'd not say that there's no policy to address climate change. what needs to be lacking or in not good or not in a good way is climate change and health policies. Climate change mitigation policies are there. For example, the planting of trees is a climate change mitigation policy.
Let's talk about climate change and health. The policy for climate change and health.
Yeah. So climate change and policy, and health policies. So as I told you earlier, it is in the last maybe 2 or 3 years, but more specifically in the last 2 and 1 year that this discussion has been happening internationally, regionally, and even locally. And now policymakers are realizing that for us to have synergy, we need to bring the health actors and climate change actors on the table to come up with the policies that address climate change and health. But the question is, where should this conversation start? Should it start at from the climate change desk, or should it happen at the health desk? More proponents are saying that this discussion should start at the health desk. That now we need to, the health actors need to incorporate climate change policies in their strategies. So it has not been happening, and even if it has been happening, it's at a very low level. So it is at this point that now this discussion needs to be taken to a higher level. So first of all, enhance that office, put resources there, put enough capacity there, train people. And as a result of doing that, you are likely to have now strong climate change health-related policies. Yeah.
While now you are championing for the health desk to be at the forefront in creating these policies, what are you doing as people at the environmental sector, environmental experts? What are you doing?
So what we are doing is that we are trying to provide evidence. So we as researchers, we are trying to provide evidence linking climate change to health. Now, you might ask yourself, why would someone consider it important to look at climate change and health as one? If you are told the cost of, the economic cost of health that are brought by climate change, then you're likely to take that seriously. If you are told about the social cost, the health social cost brought about by climate change, you're likely to take that seriously. So what we as researchers are trying to do is to carry out research so that we can get empirical evidence, and empirical evidence is expected to drive policy. Because from the researcher's point of view, any policy that we are driving as a country should be evidence-based. So we are currently trying to carry out research in order to provide evidence. Yeah.
Now we are just talking about floods and drought, but we also have air pollution caused by climate change. And I understand that maybe these ozone layer, the UV radiation, can really cause so much harm to the skin. Tell us about that, Ken.
A good question. So when we have very strong heat waves and very strong radiations, so these are likely to also have health implications on people. Strong heat is likely to be to cause cancer. So again, something that is not well known, but it's there. You know the disastrous effects of cancer. So to a large extent, evidence shows that climate change is one of the contributors to cancer across the globe. Yeah, and not just from the heat waves, but if you look at the, for example, indoor air pollution, countries in Africa where we have a lot of use of biomass energy and fossil fuels experience a lot of indoor air pollution, and indoor air pollution is one of the leading causes of lung cancer. Yeah.
All right. So, what other factors do you think really lead to these high cost of cancer treatment now, especially for these that are caused by climate change effects?
So cancer is caused by other factors besides climate change. But the most disastrous issue with the cancer is the cost involved in the treatment. So families experience a drain on incomes. The government spends a lot of money on preventive and curative measures. So these are, these incomes would have been spent on other areas, but now they are spent on health. So we have a reallocation from other key areas to health. And besides the economic impact of cancer, we also have the social impact. If someone, for example, dies, and this is someone who is a breadwinner in a family, then that family is going to go through some income challenges. This again is likely to bring mental health issues.
All right.
This is likely to bring family disconnects. So the multiplier effect is so huge. Yeah.
All right, Dr. Kenneth Kigondu, my director, is telling me that we are out of time. The VAR team is already in studio, but thank you so much for making time for us for this insightful conversation on the nexus between climate change and health. We're looking forward to having you some other time.
Thank you so much, Anne, and let's continue advancing this discussion.
All right. All right, that brings us to the end of our bulletin tonight. Thank you so much for being here. Be sure to stay tuned for the next program. That is the VAR. Have a wonderful night. My name is Anne Odida.